The Keiki Caucus has come up with a package of bills and resolutions that address the needs of our children and youth. Last October, 55 youth met over a 3-day period to answer the question, what does our legislature need to do to make Hawaii a better place to live, learn, and work? They agreed on 10 recommendations for legislative action. Then more than 1,100 young people voted online to rank the recommendations in priority order. The Keiki Caucus legislative members have listened to the youth voice, and they have incorporated some of those priorities into their package of bills and resolutions for this year that will be presented to you today. We should all be very proud of these young people and their contributions to our community. And a mahalo to the many legislators, staff, and community members who work together to make these bills. Thank you. I'd like to turn it over to some of our legislative members to tell you more about the Keiki Caucus and what's going to happen today.
Thank you very much, Judith Clark. Wanted to give you a brief history of the Keiki Caucus. The Hawaii State Legislature's Keiki Caucus was established back in 1991 by co-conveners Representative Dennis Arakaki and Senator Suzanne Chun Oakland. At the time, the concern and focus of the legislature was more on the negative aspects of our Keiki, and that this branch was not focused enough on the positive and inspirational issues and accomplishments by Hawaii's Keiki. Therefore, their endeavor was to focus on the positive achievements and goals of our Keiki. By 1994, legislation was passed in Act 234 to designate the first Sunday in October as Children and Youth Day. And in 1997, the legislature passed legislation via Act 30, which is in Hawaii Revised Statute Section 8-11, to now include the entire month of October as Children and Youth Month in Hawaii. Hawaii was the first state in the nation to enact such groundbreaking policy for our Keiki. Today, we have over 300 organizations and individuals that are all members of this caucus. Our members are nonprofit organizations, city, state, and federal offices, businesses, children, youth, as well as their groups, parents, educators, professionals in the fields of child development, health, as well as social workers and frontline workers. Our goal is to embrace youth diversity with community engagement for introduction and support of best practices and policy for our Keiki. We are here to empower and support our Keiki. Mahalo for allowing me to share a little bit of the history of our Keiki Caucus. I'd like to now turn to Deborah Zeisman. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you all so much for being here. I'm Deborah Zeisman, Executive Director of Hawaii Children's Action Network Speaks, and I just wanted to fill in a bit on the process for this year. As Rep. Mizuno said, this is, I think, a really historic caucus that has been meeting for so many years, and it is unique in that it is an interesting partnership between our state lawmakers, who are true champions for children, many community nonprofits who have expertise in fields of child and family services and education and all of the pieces that are important to children and families. And as Judith mentioned, teen and youth voices that come together each year. So this was an interesting and odd year. Often we have our meetings leading up to today in person. We have done much of the planning for today virtually in our squares. And so just so you know, this is the convergence of many different pieces. So my organization has convened the Children's Policy Agenda now for a number of years. We bring together nonprofit and community experts in the field to help prioritize. Judith's organization brings together youth. We did that virtually this year. And then we, in the last month or two, brought those various priorities from youth, from community experts to our lawmakers, who then help to pare them down and have the list that will be the Keiki Caucus legislative package of bills and resolutions for this year. I think that's it for the overview. So I will turn it over now to Representative Peruso and Nicole Wu.
Aloha. I actually think that Joy is going to be introducing the speakers along with Nicole. So we'll let Senator Sam Buenaventura take the floor.
Aloha. Are you folks able to hear me? I don't know whether or not my mute is on. So thank you very much. As chair of the Senate Chair of Keiki Caucus, I am so proud to introduce our students Tyler Levine and Elise Bartel to talk about the Keiki Caucus homelessness resolution. So Tyler Levine and Elise Bartel, please proceed. Okay, are Tyler Levine and Elise, I see Tyler Levine. Tyler Levine, you're up. Please talk about the homelessness resolution for 1 minute.
Okay, I think actually Elise was going to talk for this part. Sorry.
Hi. Can everyone hear me all right? I'm outside, so it's a little windy. So I hope it's all right.
Yes, we've unmuted you. Go ahead. You have 1
Okay,
minute to
good.
talk about the homelessness resolution.
Good morning. My name is Elise Barthel, and I will be speaking on the homelessness priority presented by the 2020 Children and Youth Summit. Thank you for being here and listening to Hawaii's youth. This resolution directly supports those suffering from homelessness. By reallocating funds, personnel, and facility resources, basic human needs will be met at community district parks. With a new tax on non-Hawaii residents who are purchasing property, funding will be available for rapid rehousing programs, transitional housing, and plantation-style houses for those currently without a home. This initiative includes optional job training to ensure they have the resources available to learn about professionalism and new vocations. Through these beneficial actions, people without housing will have the option to turn their lives around. With the growing rate of homelessness in Hawaii, this priority is not only important to those suffering from homelessness, but to our society as a whole. We, the youth of Hawaii, want to affect real change, and we believe that this is a step in the right direction. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Elise. I'm Nicole Wu, also with Hawaii Children's Action Network Speaks. Next up is Representative Stacey Lynn Eli with the Keiki Caucus resolution on Hawaiian education.
Aloha, everyone. So the resolution that we are working on for the Keiki Caucus would actually urge the Board of Education and the Department of Education to elevate Hawaiian language and cultural education in public high schools by incorporating it into more diverse Hawaiian language and cultural classes as a core requirement. So I just wanted to talk about how we have two official state languages. You know, we have English and Olelo Hawaii. And just some historical background, you know, Olelo Hawaii was banned in 1896, but in 1978, the state made it its official language. And this is long overdue. This is gonna benefit not just Native Hawaiian students, but also non-Native Hawaiian students, and just, you know, give them a more diverse educational opportunity. So we're really excited about this.
Thank you. Mahalo, Representative Eli. Next up to talk about the student voice resolution is our student from Punahou, Zoe Duan.
Hello. So hello, everyone. I'm Zoe Duan, a high school student and a youth advocate. And the resolution I will be introducing today is the Resolution for Student Voice, which is Resolution 2021-0682. The resolution explains that because there is a current lack of opportunities in the education system for students to offer their input to the administration of the Hawaii Department of Education, implementations of town halls can provide the necessary platforms for youths and parents, as well as community members, to share their views and feedback on various ideas and plans, while also promoting transparency, student participation, and inclusivity. And as the youth of Hawaii, we would love to be able to have a more active role in improving education as well as Hawaii in general. Thank you.
Mahalo, Zoe. Our next speaker is Principal Janice Blabber from, oh, I don't know your high school, but you're speaking about a resolution on community schools.
Aloha kako, everybody. I am Janice Blabber from Kealakahi Intermediate School on Hawaii Island. And I'm here to speak on the resolution, community schools. A'ohe pau ka ike i ka halau ho'okahi. Not all learning happens in one place. And so I'm happy to say that this resolution definitely supports the different resolutions already in place by the wonderful Haumana here that have stated it and our representatives. And so when we think about community schools, we think about ensuring that opportunity is provided to every single student. And what do we see when we think of opportunity? We think of knowledge and networking. And definitely the idea of community schools will make sure that learning does not just happen within the walls of the school and only during the school day, as we've seen in the pandemic, that silver lining it showed us, but it invites communities to be a whole part of the schools, inside and out, wraparound services. It reminds me of when I grew up. I was born at Merrites Housing, Kapalama Services, where we had free dental, we had free healthcare, we had free after school, swimming at the pools. I learned how to swim there. And so we need to make this a reality for our students. Already you're seeing it happen solely by the Hawaii DOE. You're seeing Waipahu High School and their career pathways. But one way we need to strengthen that from preschool all the way through when they go to college is to definitely put this resolution in motion, because it puts the student as a learner, not just in the four walls of our school, but as a learner about the community. Because when we learn, we also have the kuleana to apply what we learn to make our community better. So mahalo for your time here.
Mahalo, Principal Blauber. For our last resolution, we have Paula Adams, who is with ED After School Alliance, speaking about after school programs resolution. So Paula.
Thank you, Representative, for having me. I'm Paula Adams from the Hawaii After School Alliance, and we are supporting the resolution to urge the Board of Education and the Department of Education to support and implement after school programs to combat COVID learning loss. Hawaii, as you know, has a strong tradition of after-school programs. We are the only state in the country with a statewide after-school program, the A+ programs. And we need to keep supporting our programs. We know they play a key role in keeping our kids safe, engaging them in learning, and helping families as well. Out-of-school time programs like the A+, Reach, Uplink, 21st Century Community Learning Centers, and other programs stand ready to help children catch up on the learning they have lost. They are preparing our kids to re-enter school and engage in other activities after this time of isolation. After-school programs help close the achievement gap by providing students with more time for deeper learning. After-school programs ensure child safety by partnering with the schools to offer families a safe place for children to learn both during and beyond the school day, allowing parents to return to work or take time to look for a job. After-school programs address students' well-being by connecting young people with caring mentors. As we know, there is no academic learning without social emotional learning. Thank you for having me today, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Paula. Now we're moving on to the bills from the Keiki Caucus. Next up is Deb Zeisman to talk about the student-centered budgeting bill.
Aloha again. I'm pleased to present on the first bill of the Keiki Caucus. When the nonprofit community started meeting in the summer and fall of 2020, the main overarching concern that many professionals in the field were raising was concern about cuts to programs for children and to education for our children. We know historically from past recessions in our state that often education cuts and social service cuts are the first things on the chopping block. And so our ask truly of the Keiki Caucus was to center children and to push as hard as possible to ensure that education cuts are not the first thing. If anything, they are the last thing. And this is a bill on education, but also for social service programming that we often know those cuts are long lasting and detrimental. So this bill that we're hoping to push this year is really ensuring what we've called student-centered budgeting, putting kids at the center, that we really take a close look at what are the most pressing needs of children when we're doing that budgeting process over the next several months, and make sure that we are trying to minimize harm to our kids. So keeping kids in the classroom, not cutting things like classroom teachers, pushing back if there's threats of furloughs, things of that sort. So we look forward to the process and happy to take questions on the importance of kids in our budget.
Mahalo, Deb. So next up is the voting age bill, and that is going to be spoken for by student Dyson Chi. So Dyson, you're up.
Aloha, everyone. Just checking. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, great. My name is Dyson Chi. I'm 18 years old, and I'm here to talk about the bills to lower the voting age to 16. So when youth begin to learn about the founding of the United States of America, one of the very first things we're taught is the ideal of no taxation without representation. Yet those same 16 and 17-year-olds who can drive, work, and be taxed have no electoral say over the very government officials who use their taxpayer money. So it's time that we walk the talk. Studies from places that have already lowered the voting age to 16, such as Austria, Scotland, and Tacoma Park, Maryland, have found that it's beneficial to the democratic process to give 16 and 17-year-olds the right to vote. So we're really excited to see bills to lower the voting age be introduced in the Hawaii State Legislature, including as a part of the Keiki Caucus. And we're really looking forward to the progress they make this session. Mahalo.
Thank you, Dyson. Next up is Senator Sam Buenaventura to talk about a bill about the emancipation of minors.
Thank you so much, Nicole. So I introduced the emancipation bill because, as shown by the last speaker, we have brilliant people, brilliant youth ages 16 or older who are self-supporting. This bill allows these brilliant, self-supporting, self-decision to give them decision-making ability apart from their parents. So long as you're self-supporting, you should be able to emancipate yourself according to this bill and not have to marry, because right now that is the only way a youth under the age of 18 in the state of Hawaii can be emancipated from their parents, and that is to be married, but not until this bill is passed. So aloha and thank you. Next up is the custody bill by Sydney Alamea, an advocate.
Hi, I'm Sydney Alamea. I'm here today to talk about the Children's Constitutional Rights Bill and why we should have our constitutional rights throughout our youth and before we turn the age 18. I was a former foster kid and I had to deal with abuse and hardship, and I never had a voice while going through that. And so I feel that all children should have a voice and freedom of speech, you know. And so that's why I'm here today. Thank you, guys.
Mahalo, Sydney. Our last speaker is Representative Tina Wildberger about the Parental Alienation Syndrome Bill.
Thank you all so much. I'm thrilled to join you here today and to join my constituents, Brave Sydney and Catherine John. I appreciate them giving me the opportunity to put this legislation forward about something that I knew nothing about. For those of you who also don't know about parental alienation syndrome, it's basically largely discredited junk science that makes the premise that one parent can interfere with the love that a child may have for the other parent by preventing an ongoing relationship with that other parent during or after separation. And so this bill addresses HB 451 for anybody who's going to be tracking and following bills through our process this session. This bill, in the case where there is possibility, probability, or imminent harm and issues of sex abuse, this parental alienation syndrome case cannot be made. So this is a more protection for children who are at risk from sex abuse from abusing parents. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having us here today.
Thank you, members. I think we're going to go over to James from our communications office. He may have some questions from the media, so if we can turn it over to James.
Aloha, Keiki Caucus. Thank you for doing this today. Just the name Keiki Caucus sounds fun, but I know that these bills and resolutions are very serious. And with us today, we have 3 members of the media that I see on our list. We have Ashley Mizuo from Hawaii Public Radio, Daryl Huff from Hawaii News Now, and Suvon Lee from Civil Beat. Reporters, please feel free to ask your questions now and identify who you are asking them to. So who would like to go first?
Okay, this is Daryl Huff at Hawaii News Now. I guess the question would go to Senator San Buenaventura or Representative Mizuno. Great package, but how do you make sure it doesn't get lost in a legislature that's dominated by budget cuts, pandemic, and all this other stuff? I mean, how do you get any traction in a situation like that?
Thanks, Daryl. Joy, did you want to take that first and I can follow you?
Okay, so that's the whole reason behind this whole press conference, Daryl, is the idea is the children have put together, the youth have put together the series of bills and resolutions, and the Keiki Caucus is bringing it to light. So you're right, the high likelihood is non-budget bills in a shortened legislative session will likely die, but at least a conversation has started, that they understand that the Keiki do have a voice. And this is only the first of a biennial, which means it can be brought up again next year. Vice Speaker Mizuno.
Hey, thanks, Joy. Thanks, Senator. Daryl, I think the statement that our Keiki represent our most precious resource is 100% true. And I'll tell you why, because our Keiki represent our future. So it's important that we invest in them now. Rather, we invest in our Keiki and have them lead us in a great economy and great policy in the future, rather than having some of our Keiki fall into the correctional facilities. So yes, our Keiki, it's actually an investment, and we're hopeful that we have a great Keiki Caucus package with a lot of participants, a lot of members. They'll be tracking the bills. We'll do our best to get hearings for the bills and the resolutions and see how it goes. But yes, our Keiki totally represent our future. Thanks.
Daryl, any follow-up on that, or is that good for that question?
No, thanks, I'm good.
Okay, Ashley or Suvon, do you have any questions of our partners or our students here today?
Yeah, I guess. Oh, sorry. Oh, Suvon, you can go.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Sorry, this is Ashley. My question kind of goes to probably Senator San Ventura and Representative Mizuno about, when it comes to funding these kinds of measures and things like that, can you talk about the importance of this session in particular for nonprofit, private, and public partnerships? Because we are seeing at the DOE, like some of the top things on the chopping block are after school programs and those extracurriculars, and a lot of these bills kind of focus around that. So can you talk a bit about the kind of partnerships that are going to be necessary to kind of get these initiatives through?
Right, so Senator Joy, could we let Amy, who's our co-convener, go first? Maybe followed by you, and then I'll go last.
Yeah,
so Amy, go ahead.
Sure, and thanks for that question. I think that I also sit on the finance committee, so we are really laser focused on that question of funding that is student and youth centered right now and really protecting the budget in that way. And I think that it means that we will have to look beyond cuts to address this shortfall. And it means that we will have to look for equity-based revenue generation measures that help us not only address the shortfall, but help us achieve a more just and equal society. So I think that if we keep our focus on our priorities, our values, and for this caucus, it's clearly our children, then we'll be very capable of addressing that question in a way that's responsible. And I think that it's a really complicated question, but I have confidence in the legislators, I have confidence in the process, and I have confidence in the community to participate in the process in ways that reminds the legislators of our shared values.
I'd just like to add, so thank you so much, Representative Amy Peruso. I'd just like to add, as Chair of Human Services, I've been able to look at the Department of Human Services budget. So we do have monies for early childhood learning, preschool work, and we're also looking at the CARES fundings and Family First programs that's coming in from the federal budget, from the federal side of these. So true, there's going to be cuts, but I am hoping that with the kind of federal monies that is still continuing to be paid to Hawaii, those cuts won't be as severe as we are looking at. Thank you. And Representative Mizuno, Vice Speaker Mizuno.
Thanks, Senator San Buenaventura. Yeah, Ashley, good question. I think when we talk about cuts to Keiki programs, we take a different stance, perhaps a defensive stance. It really needs to be a collaborative effort with the legislature and the community to try to protect essential programs for our Keiki. And so it's not going to be easy. We're doing our best to navigate out of a $1.8 billion deficit and out of the pandemic. But again, we really need to be protective and defend a lot of these important programs for our Keiki. Thanks for the question.
Okay, thank you. Suvan, do you have a question now?
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity. Just real briefly, is there a place where a list of all these bills and resolutions are going to be posted? Thanks.
James, did you want to take that question?
Yes, yes, it is. Suvan, I will send you the link. They are posted on our Capitol website, so I'll send that link to you. Ashley or Daryl, any follow-up questions at this point? Okay, if not, thank you, media, for being here today, and back to you, Vice Speaker Mizuno.
James, thank you for moderating. Excellent job. I'm going to turn it over to Representative Peruso, Senator San Buenaventura, and Deborah Zeisman for the closing. Everyone, great job, but let me turn it over to these outstanding three.
So I just wanted to thank the members of the Keiki Caucus, the legislative members and the community members for your engagement in robust conversations and really kind of thinking about all of the issues that were brought to the caucus and really taking them seriously. I really appreciate that. And it's super powerful when young people are taken seriously. And I am completely committed to the idea that if we are wise, then we will follow our youth. And so in this caucus, I feel like we are doing that, and I'm proud of us. So thank you everyone for doing this work. Deb, if you wanted to add something to that.
Just mahalo, and I hope that those watching in the community follow the Keiki Caucus package, raise their voice, and let their own lawmakers know that these things are important, and know that Hawaii Children's Action Network Speaks. We are here as a resource for anyone in the community, youth, and nonprofits and families. If you have questions on any of these bills, we can help you to understand how to navigate the legislative process and how to share your thoughts and concerns.
So I just want to also say thank you to everyone as the chair, the Senate chair of the Keiki Caucus. I know I have big shoes to fill after Senator Susie Chun Oakland and Senator Carl Rhodes, who Senator Susie Chun Oakland was one of the founders of Keiki Caucus and basically resigned because she couldn't do as much as she wanted for the Keiki Caucus and for her project. So I really am happy to be accepted by you folks and to be part of the Keiki Caucus. Vice Speaker Mizuno, closing remarks.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank everyone. Great job. I was humbly surprised. Everyone stayed on time. We had robust discussion on Keiki issues. Thank you very much, James. Great job with the media. Good questions. Just everyone did a great job. I'm very grateful. Thank you all. Let's work together. Let's try to pass a number of our measures in the package. God bless you all. Thank you again.
Thank you.